we need to put more effort into asking, like, what do we want to see rather than what we don't want.
Yeah, because we focus on the, like, oh, like, we know what we experience as Black people, and we know the traumas and stuff that we want to avoid. But what's actually
what are we painting for ourselves? Like, what are we creating? And, like, that's
absolutely
what's constantly getting blocked from us. It's like stopping our ability to see that there's any other thing we have to focus on now, or like focus on feeding ourselves, or like getting from A to B. We don't have time to see that bigger picture. But like once we do, that's, you can actively make it, you know what I mean?
And I agree, because even the like aspects of like dreaming, I've heard like even aspects of your comic, like we need to dream up like different imaginations as Black people, because if we settle on like the harsh realities and the harsh truths, then you're not dreaming and thinking, oh, this is the way my life could look. And even the first time I actually heard about Afro-Futurism was in first year at uni, in my film course, and then we were talking about the show Atlanta, which a lot of people say is like a really good example of Afro-Futurism, because it's also like surrealism too, in the same vein. And it says how like as Black artists, like the best way to like express what we want for ourselves is to be absurd and like crazy, and all the things that we're told that if we do present ourselves in society as, we would be, you know, shunned. We need to show that and embrace that, and be a little crazy and make like insane decisions, and even in art as well, like you need to dream up things that you don't think are possible for yourself. So I really resonate, and I know we talked about that as well last time. So yeah, I love the concept of like just thinking up a future that is so outside of anybody's type of imagination. Somewhere.
Hi. I don't know if you agree, but like queer people and Black people, or like that tiny intersection, the smaller your intersection is, the more you're forced to have an imagination and like look outwards, or look inwards, I guess, for like inspiration. Hence why we are the trendsetters, because we're allowing ourselves to like be forward thinking. And then everyone else is like, oh, it exists now, because people tend to like, if I can't see it, I don't believe it.
Exactly.
But then if you don't believe it, you'll never see it.
Exactly.
Like something could be right in front of you, but you're not gonna give it that opportunity. And that's I guess what you're saying. Like, if we don't allow ourselves to consider there is so much more, then there is no more, in a way. No.
And I truly believe, like, also communicate with yourself, like, you know, that always, but like not in the like, oh, because obviously we can, on the bus, on the train, like you can, at home you can talk to yourself in your head, but I mean like fully journaling. That's why also I respect like your art so much, because it's like an outward reflection of you, and it could almost, you can see it as like a processing of life, just even when you put pen to paper, you know. And I've always respect visual artists, especially because it's like, it's so nice to see what comes from somebody's brain and how they're connecting to themselves. And if you throw in like storytelling as well, like that's such a beautiful like medium to use, because then it's like, yeah, it's like a vomiting of like your mental space and the things you believe in, the things that you've questioned. And I think it's such a beautiful, I'm just always thinking that like I think more people need to realize that inner struggle that you have with your identity, like it can be solved and not dealt with, because I think that's like a lifelong thing, but like maybe healed slightly through any art form that kind of invites you to like be a child again. Because when we were in school, like they were asking us to draw every day. They were asking us to pick up a paintbrush, and it wasn't even 10 a.m.
But it flowed through us, because I feel like even when you don't have the words, which I feel comes with that internal struggle, we can't properly verbalize things. I mean, maybe like you could be a writer or whatever, but verbalizing in an abstract way
Yeah.
rather than just being like, this is what I feel, because it doesn't, you don't know.
No,
Like, I don't know,
literally.
someone
I
tell
don't know.
me.
Literally every day is giving like, someone tell me please.
So like, what's your thoughts on like physical media and like print? Because I believe so much that like physical, like your zine is going to be printed, right?
Yeah.
I think it has that necessary thing that comes with art as we've always known it to be, because it's tangible, and because like art is not necessarily personal that it has to be kept to yourself, but it's such a personal thing that like my influence is the immediate world around me, so I'm giving back to that immediate world. Like when I start factoring in TikTok and like who in Australia is watching, art becomes less of a me in like personal intimate project, and it's more just capitalism. Like it's not actually, like it's like getting diluted the further out of your own radius that it is, because it's out of your own hands as well. So then people are just open to have the opinion that you tried to copy Frank Ocean, but it's like you don't know anything about it, and you don't need to listen to me tell you, because you owe me nothing. Like we don't know each
I don't know
other.
you, like I
So
mean,
what
I don't know.
drew you into like making it print?
So it was more like the like opportunity found itself along the way. Like I originally didn't plan to make a zine, but it was more like suggested to me by the company I work with, Resolve. They're amazing, and they've helped me like create this thing. But being given the option to make it physical and like maybe potentially have like it online, but I just realized, because they introduced me to a lot of zines as well, like a few companies that they'd worked with, and they just had zines lying around. And it's so crazy because like I had heard of zines online, but obviously because I wasn't given the opportunity to like touch them and like actually feel them, I didn't realize how special like they are. Because you got magazines, which is more like editorial, there's a whole team behind it. Zines usually are made more
Crafted.
do you know what I
like,
mean?
yeah.
And so at the first time I've made a zine in the past about it was called Parampur, which is like a Somali dance that we do at weddings, and I made that fully like in a workshop, cutting things out and sticking them on, and it was so like, I still have that zine now, and I'm like, wow, like this is a full thing that I made, and like I can give to people and show them, and like I also love like giving people things and then seeing them light up, or even just seeing how they respond to the paper, like little things like that, or like how what pages they align with more. And actually, as I've made this zine more and more, I'm realizing that like I'm also excited to touch it myself. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm working on it digitally at the moment, until obviously to design all the pages. But like it's crazy that like in the same way when you go to a bookstore and read a book or whatever and touch it, like that author probably on its first day that it came out like felt the book and was like, wow, this is mine. And like
I can't wait for that feeling.
Oh my gosh, are you releasing yours in print? Okay,
I'm so excited. Like, so it's meant to be print mainly, but like that's exactly the feeling that I guess it's like senses. Because we rely on like seeing online and hearing maybe, but like everything else is cut off. Like we don't get to it, like it's not immersive enough. Like I need to like reading a book physically and having to like get comfortable, having the right lighting, be in the right position, sitting up when it gets good. Like.
I know. All of that is an experience. It's an experience. And like, even if people like don't completely resonate with our project, like let's say they pick it up and they're like, oh, I don't like this, like even that's an experience. Like, do you know what I mean? That we made them feel something. But it's really difficult because our phones are like such like, they are our phones, like our screens are only ever going to be the screen, and the stuff you see on it are different, but the phone is the same. And sometimes I just get sick of holding the same item all the time and expecting that to help me connect with people. Like it's so random. On on its own, and so that's what made it so much easier. It took the pressure off, because now I ended up deciding to talk about Somali music and Somali funk music specifically, because there was like a whole booming era in the 70s and 80s, especially in the capital, and like people don't know about this. So I was like, okay, well, I interviewed a record company that bring that music back. Basically, they find it, they reinstate it for people to listen to. And then or like some other aspects was like, well, even within religion, like the ways that I dress, I had used to question a lot. I was like, oh, like, am I being modest? I don't wear like the hijab in the most common sense, like that we all think of, like, so I felt really guilty all the time. And now I just like realize, like, oh, maybe in the zine I talk about my relationship with beauty, and all of that in its own way, maybe like explicitly or implicitly is talking about my relationship with Islam. Do you know what I mean? Like, it all is like baked into there. And like I didn't feel necessarily like I had to explicitly mention, okay, well, like I'm dealing with like confusion around religion, but also certainty around religion as well. Like I know kind of where I stand, and so yeah, the zine, it kind of, so like, even because the majority of the zine there's photographs on nearly every page, that also made me feel very like almost like spiritual, because I would look at these pictures and feel like I was becoming very close to like Somali culture, because I've learned a lot of things along this journey. And like also a photograph for me like speaks like a language, and that language to me right now is like my mother tongue, and like my mother tongue, like Somali, like, and so sometimes some of the pictures I took of my sisters in cultural dress, which I mentioned, that in itself was like, it was speaking to me in Somali, and there was this really nice spiritual relationship I had to the photo. So yeah, like, not to like, I don't know, it's such a like, I feel like when it comes out we will see. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So then, my question though for you is like, what, like, in those situations where you're finally like as an artist asking questions of what do I actually want in my future, what comes to mind? Like,
I think it's really weird because I have a very big, I put a lot of emphasis on like coming back to your inner child, and I think having a late autism diagnosis, or just that being, rediscovering possibilities of that, is like going back and realizing all the times in your life that these natural things that you want to do or say that you've had to like, that I've had to like stop myself from doing, or been told like don't do that, because even things like watching cartoons, not in a like spiteful way, but my mom would be like, why are you watching this? Because she just doesn't get, like, we've moved, when you grow up you're just told like there's more important stuff to do, and it's like when you get swept up in that feeling, you never put time and attention into like the tiny things that make you happy. Like, you know, when you're a baby and you're like, someone could do like a silly face and that is the highlight of your day. And I feel like obviously you get to age 10 and then that could have been the highlight of your day, but you have homework to do. So then you just brush it aside until the older you get, that becomes like the lowest priority. But it's like, it's still in us, it's still a part of us, because like everything is just fun, like be silly.
This is what I'm saying, like, honestly, like the sense of humor, like, as well, that I've gone back to, like, I used to think, oh, I've got to have like an elevated, cute, like, I have to have like a smart sense of humor. No joke, maybe it is just a silly face that somebody does to you in public, and like people don't like embrace like play as well, like actually being playful, because we've lost like a lot of our inner childs, and like maybe adulthood is, or maybe even like past like a certain age, because I always look at like elderly people and think that they
get it back.
They get it back, and it's like maybe we should try and do that now, because I think that's why we look at elderly people, and a lot of the times they're very content and they're very,
they've made peace with they've had time to make peace.
Exactly.
But I feel like we're constantly chasing for time, where it's like you can do that now.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine. I mean, I definitely will say it's easier said than done.
True. Yeah.
Because it's a journey for me. Like, even now, when I still feel like I am at my most childlike self, there's always going to be moments when you kind of got to stop yourself, because it's not the right crowd, or it's like, it's not the time.
Or like, even just like doing exactly what it is that you want to do sometimes, like as adults and as like people who, you know, you have family that you have that maybe rely on you. It's like you feel like you literally can't do what you want sometimes, and so then it just makes you feel like, well, my inner child and what she wants to do isn't an option right now. You know, and then that's what I'm saying, you always have to wait till later, and then later is scary, because you don't know if it's your last day, and like, what if it was your last day? Not to get morbid.
No, but it's it's real. It's real. And I feel like when it comes to those discussions, everyone's like, oh, that's so cliche, or it's something that you hear all the time, so you don't consider it. But it's like, we hear it for a reason. Like, it's something. Black culture in every diaspora has this, like, is full of life. It explores things. We were even very queer. Like, a lot of our history is very queer coded. And colonialism took that away from us, because you have to be aligned to a very, like, strict regime, and then now we're kind of stuck in that. So it's like, how do we still get to be, I guess, religious or spiritual and care about things, but know that can still work with being?
Well, I think, because when we spoke about it a little bit last week, I was thinking a lot about, like, I mean, we did talk about, like, coming from any diaspora, like black diaspora specifically, and like when you just don't have any like, you just feel like you're always like suspended in air, because you're like attached to your family and everyone's attached to their cultures, and then but we're in this really weird space where we've grown up in a country that's completely separate, like has a completely different culture, and then you still feel like you want to connect to both realms, and then throw in religion, and religion is like, especially one like Islam, which we're both attached to in some ways, like it does feel it's kind of like at times a very all-consuming religion, not in a bad way at all. Like, it just means that, like, it
means you're fully,
do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's easy to be a half-hearted, like, kind of, even if you're questioning your faith, like, I still, even when I have questioned my faith, it's like I still feel attached to Islam, like it's that heavy. And so when you have all of those different identities, how do you, like, I don't know, it's like you just feel, I feel like colonial legacies teach us that's too much, like, oh, to be all of these different things is way too much, you know, but it's actually like, no, like one thing literally leads to another, like one aspect of your race completely can be intertwined to your religion, and that makes your voice and your like creative voice, or your like who you are as a person, so much more like multifaceted. And I think they teach us that being multifaceted, and basically they want us to be simple and not know anything about our legacies and our histories. But the one thing is, like, I don't believe that our histories are ever going to be just written. I think they're literally in our cells and in our genes. I think that the, like, legacies that have been passed down to us, that have been colonial mandem tried to get rid of, they don't know that it's in our bodies and it's our hearts, you know? So yeah, I don't know. That's just the thoughts I come up.
I think it's almost weird, because it's like kind of like the power, in a weird word, is like individual. Like, it's definitely like everyone has their own individual experience, so it doesn't make sense to make us all subscribe to the exact same structure unless it's there with like guidance, or it's just like a blank statement, and then we move through it in whatever way that we have to, just like living is, just like we do with everything else in the world.
Right.
And it's like, religion is such a vast, nuanced thing, or every religion is a very vast and nuanced story, let's say. So it doesn't make sense that you move in one straight line with it. Like,
literally impossible.
Yeah. I find it really weird that how people kind of turned religion into capitalism. Like, it's a very transactional, like, one route thing.
Yeah.
But it's like spirituality and spiritualism, the entire point of it is complexity. And like, it's not a tangible thing that you can control.
Absolutely. And you're always going to be like finding like if even if you read any holy book, like I feel like you can read the full book, believe that you know what everything means at one age, and then I feel like in 10 years time you will read it again and genuinely see it as completely different. And that's the thing, like with Islam as well, like I feel there's so many messages that over time, I think when I was questioning my religion, like I would be like, oh, I don't resonate with this now, but like you don't need to like always truly like connect to something to like still believe that it's like, I don't know, I don't know what I'm getting at here, but like it does feel like sometimes that's also what's complex about religion, is like you don't always, like it's such a like love-hate relationship sometimes, and you struggle, and I mean that's literally what like jihad is, like the meaning is like struggle, and once again like Western media uses that name to mean like, oh, if you're jihadist, you're terrorist or whatever. Those things, like if one person on BBC News literally just searched up the name, they would realize it literally means an inner personal struggle to be a better Muslim, and that's all there is to it. Like it literally means nothing. So yeah, it's just so like weird to have this like constant inner struggle within your own identity, and then also if you reflect it on the world around you, which has so much control over like the narratives, you need to, I guess, like as we grow as Muslims and as people, like we need to realize that what we feel privy to is often like the outside more than the inside, you know, because that's all, like I believe like God always speaks to us like in our hearts, never through, maybe through the people around us, but never through, like it's never going to be the world itself that's going to be the voice, you know. It's you, not to be cringe and cheesy, but it's you, the real power is you.
No, it's very true, because just like you said, I feel like when you're a kid, you're like a blank canvas, so you can be told something and you believe it, and then like that kid could grow up to like just go through a car crash, and that changes the complete trajectory of like what you expect from the world. And then you add in things like finding out that, or realizing that they're queer, or finding out something else, and it's like everything that I was taught like 10 days ago doesn't apply right now. It doesn't make sense to expect someone to just be like okay with that. Like things, even without religion, like just thinking about like what anything means to you, that changes so quickly, like on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely.
And I think I feel like change needs to be incorporated into every kind of structure like that, because otherwise there's no room for like anything.
That I like and respect to you, but if they're not,
but then I guess because what we were talking about before, about how you don't like when people are like, which comes first, your race, your religion, your sexual identity, like, but we were saying how they kind of coexist all at once. Maybe there's like you know, like the autistic spectrum is a circle rather than a line. Maybe it exists in that way, and that makes like how, I guess, growing up, were you born in London?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So like growing up completely in this culture, how you literally, there's no way you can receive your upbringing in the same way that someone would growing up elsewhere.
Yeah.
So like that forms your very, very specific upbringing. So like your chart with like where you align probably moves as you get older.
It probably does, yeah.
And like it's just your own little like clockwork thing. Like,
that's a beautiful way of putting it, because I feel like, yeah, like it, I don't know, like I connect to London so much, but also maybe like home isn't just like, or like identity isn't just formed of like where you are like spatially or temporally, like it actually is based off of like your interactions with other people, and like I feel like I could settle well in a lot of different places, but it's nice to have like a home base. And I feel like when you are a person of color, sometimes that home base ends up being like two places, because even if you've never been to that place, because I've actually never been to Somalia and really want to go in the next like few months or years, but like I know like that's my second home without even ever going. And like do you know what I mean? It's so weird that that's the case, because
I'm a third gen Jamaican and I've never been like I've never been there, but every time I hear music from Jamaica, even when I hear the accent or like I see Jamaican representation on TV that has nothing that coincides with my own upbringing, I'm like, yes,
for sure.
This is for me.
And the thing is that's the most, I love that you said that about like even music, because that's why I've decided to write about music, in Somali music, in the zine, because like also one of the first experiences that I had, well not the first experience, but like I've always grown up around like Somali music and stuff, like my mum always played, and this song I listened to a song called Grof, and it means like elixir, that's like the title. I don't think it literally means that, but anyway, I was listening to it at home, and then my mum came in, like, and it was on the speaker or something, so she must have heard it too, and she was like, oh girl, I haven't like heard this in a minute, because she grew up in Somalia and then came here when she was 16, so she's quite young, so she was like, oh, I used to hear this all the time when I was growing up. And then it was this beautiful moment of like connection, and like for me that was like a moment that I want to write about in the zine, because I feel like music is one of the only things that makes us feel like us diaspora kids like feel like we connect back to our culture, because
that was like a BBC series a couple years, I think it was in the pandemic, and it was like a short like 3 like mini series.
Was it Small Axe from Steve McQueen? I don't know, maybe
I forgot what it's called, but like each episode was a completely different story, and the last one is these like 2 separate, like a boy and a girl, and like they're with their friends and family, whatever, and they're all getting dressed up to go to this event, like a music night. And it shows their like 2 perspectives, and then they get to this party and like there's different things happening, and they're playing like classic songs.
It's Love Is Rock.
Love Is Rock. Yeah,
I love that episode.
It's everything that my parents have said that they grew up with.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But like seeing it visually and being like, I know that road that they're on. Like it's crazy, and I feel like I get to live it vicariously through stuff like that.
But it's kind of scary, because like when you are so like, being first generation means like you're so close, you feel so close to it, like you feel like there's almost just a slight disconnect, because at the end of the day, if I go to see my grandma, who also lives in the same building as us, like she like still speaks Somali, still has like all of her memories, and tells us her stories and things, and then my mum and dad like both, you know what I mean, it's so visceral in their lives that they talking about Somalia as if like it was yesterday, and the fact that like now I could be the thing that makes that not happen. Do you know what I mean? I could be the thing that like means that it's like, it's a lot of pressure.
It is a lot of pressure.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's what I mean, like and I understand Somali like fluently. I know it like fluently, but speaking it has always been such a struggle for me. I'm not gonna lie. Like I speak to my mum in English at home, and she speaks to me in Somali. So it's a really weird way of communicating. And I know a lot of kids as well from the diaspora do also experience this. But it's like if God forbid, or just like age, like my mum is obviously older than me, she's not going to be here forever, then I don't want to be the thing that again is the disconnect and like doesn't learn my language, because that's actually, apart from like music and language, those things, like you, if you can speak your own language, then you can go to your country and like communicate with everybody. But if I go to Somalia now, they're gonna be like, girl, if this white girl should get out of here, literally, and they'll say that to me in Somali, so I'll understand, but I won't be able to respond. So I want to avoid that happening. What do you feel about like walking home at night, like as
right? To wrap it up, being that I guess the kind of thing that ties everything together is that like we need to nurture our own, like, I guess it's like healing, like nurturing our inner child, getting back to the basics of everything, and those things that make us us, which is all of our intersectionalities, I guess, and nurturing that, and then allowing ourselves that time, but then recircling and like making sure that healing is a circular process. Because once you stop somewhere, it just comes back and like starts clogging up again. So I guess, like, do you have any last thoughts on, or I guess answering the original question of, do you feel like your identities compete with each other still, or do you think there's work to be done for it?
That's a good question. I feel like there's maybe what we've talked about, and especially like most recently now, like I think there are different aspects of my identity, like being Somali and Muslim, and a woman as well as a big part of like everyday experiences. I think now I know that they sit perfectly like together, like as in, like I don't think I ask myself enough. I hate waking up and thinking, oh, like this feels more like I resonate with this thing more, because also it's like it doesn't feel like I feel like I question things too much, but sometimes it's okay to just like let yourself be. It's okay to just be like, okay, this is who I am. You'll see it reflected in my work. You don't always have to see the Somali side of me reflected because I don't speak Somali right now. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not going to be more Somali in 10 years because I learn the language and I know how to speak it. Like, do you know what I mean? And for now,
it is me, and it's always been me.
Exactly. So that's it's a very like nice, wholesome thing to end on.
It's just learning that like different moments call for different aspects, but they all kind of worked together perfectly to form like who we are individually. Like, I think if I took away my queerness, I can't even fathom like who I would be. If I was from any other country but Jamaica, like I wouldn't be me. And so I think if we, not just taking away, but if we put too much emphasis on one, you're not allowing those other ones to shine, and then inherently you're not being your authentic self. Like, so like just let yourself breathe, let yourself have a season, nurture one, learn about one, because obviously you can't focus on all of them at once,
for sure,
but like allow yourself that, and then we're just individuals basically,
we're just here,
and then we can work together. Like, we're individuals in a community, right? I feel like that's the main point. Like, it's not about being like, it's all about you. It's like you die with yourself at the end of the day. Like, yes, but how you became that because of your community. So it's the circle. It's the circle of life.